Hello, my friends. There you are. Hi. Happy 4th of July. Thanks for being here with my allergy eyes and a migraine that I've been pushing off. But I wanted to be with you today. And I know why you're here. It's not that you don't have anywhere else to be. I saw sorry, the ADD's kicking in already. Doug is making noise in the room. Honey, you going to come in here? Hey, babe.
What? What? Can't hear.
Are you coming in?
No, I'm gonna listen to it out here.
Okay. Do you want to shut the door so the dogs don't go in and out? This is real life. He was taking a little nap on the couch about an hour and a half ago when I decided to do this, and I didn't want to wake him up. So he had to scramble a little bit to get this set up, and here we go. So I'm still kind of waking up. You guys are the first people I've really engaged with today. So I know it's the 4th, and I apologize for being a few minutes late. Your time is valuable. I don't want to take that for granted. It's the one thing in life you don't get back. There's probably other things, but it's the one I can think of at the moment. But I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. I announced on X last night, a few minutes before midnight, that some donors had reached out, some top donors for TPUSA, 2 CEOs. I've connected with 2 CEOs and a COO who are in the top 20 who, had the opportunity to go to things like the Aspen event in August 2025 that we all have heard quite a bit about. At some point, you just wonder why they haven't caught on to just stop talking. I think it was only last night that it occurred to me that a lot of the stuff that has turned into such a mess for them is as a result of damage control for things that Erica has said. For example, I don't know, this is just my opinion, just a theory, that anybody knew that she was going to say in that Megyn Kelly interview in November of 2025, I think it was November, that there was a video of Charlie naming her as a successor, that she would do a great job if anything happened to him. It struck me as such a mob boss question when she shared that at what I believe the Hamptons retreat, not retreat, but event for influencers, and then the private dinner, that they had where apparently BB called in, that there is so much going through my mind right now. And I actually made notes because there are some legalities to this whole thing. I've had people reach out and share things before, but this one is big. And I only am saying anything because, CANDACE came out in her interview with Sean Ryan. And although she has spoken about this before, about Charlie being offered a significant amount of money, about BB offering to take it to the next level, TPUSA to the next level, that lane of this highway had pretty much come to a halt. And then when it came up in the Sean Ryan interview, sure enough, Andrew comes out, and let's see. This was the final straw, because for several weeks I've been connecting with these people, taking in all this information, notes just everywhere. I had to gather everything last night, and it's just piles of just raggedy notes that I assembled, and I'm going to look off today. Time is a blur right now. But Andrew came out, and once again did what Andrew does and called her a liar and said the whole thing was a lie. And one of the reasons that these donors, these top donors, have reached out is that they're tired of it. Somebody said that one of them said that TPUSA has become, evil cloaked as good. And they didn't say that lightheartedly. And they loved Charlie very, very much. Doug, if you can hear me, I left my drink out there in the clear blue glass. Would you bring that in here, please? So let's look at Andrew's message on X. Add to stage. Let's see if I can do this right. Okay. Quite literally, all of this is BS. Let's address one claim at a time. Thank you. Excuse me, please. I love you.
Love you too.
This mic is tender, so I don't want you to hear me swallowing, which you maybe still could have. Okay. Quite literally, all of this is BS. Let's address one claim at a time. Netanyahu did not offer TPUSA millions. Right there, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to jump into this thing at a different level. Comedy aside. It's literally just an internet rumor popularized by the crank Max Blumenthal. I do not know much about Max Blumenthal, but apparently he's not Team TPUSA. Even if Netanyahu had offered, Charlie would not and could not have accepted because TPUSA cannot accept foreign money. Sorry, I haven't read the whole thing. Oh my God, there are ways around such things. That's why it's called dark money. That's why Kennedy wanted AIPAC to not be able to accept dark money anymore, that it had to be disclosed where the money was coming from. That's so funny. Okay, sorry. Add to stage, the second part. Sorry, I'm just getting used to this. We already did that part. I did not lose millions. Now, I don't really know anything about this part. I did not lose millions when CK turned down said money that was never offered and couldn't accept. He just said it 4 sentences ago, we remember. Because on top of everything, I don't make any money off donations. I have exactly zero to do with fundraising. In fact, it was one of my stipulation I made to Charlie years ago when we started working together. Nothing against it. It's just not my thing. He might be saying that because I believe Stacy Sheridan received a percentage out of donors that she brought in. I don't have documentation for that, but I believe I understood that to be true. And I don't think anybody at Turning Point pushed back on that. That's not hugely uncommon. Add to stage, part 3. I never told CANDACE any of this because it didn't happen. I never told any family members any of this either because, again, it never happened. Bit redundant. Okay. If Israel offered us any money, prove it. I'm going to share. I'm going to, as close as humanly possible at this point, show the proof. You won't be able to because it's a lie and has always been. Mikey McCoy was present. Mikey McCoy could validate the account, the testimony, so to speak. I say that just in the sense of somebody's personal story, personal account, not in a court capacity. In the land of Christendom, when people would share how they come to Christ, they would call it their testimony. So sometimes I inadvertently slip into that word usage. But their account of Charlie being at a dinner, a private dinner with just them, I've already said this publicly, so I'm not, spoiler, that Charlie was in fact offered, his own words, $120 million to agree to start Israel TPUSA. I asked at what point in the process would he receive those funds. They said all he had to do was agree to it. And when the subject came up, he was heartbroken just because of his love for Israel, and he knew that there were strings attached. Mikey McCoy was there. Possibly Mikey McCoy, who comes across very meek and mild at times, knew this was a hotbed, tender subject, and perhaps he did not share that with anybody else. That's possible. So perhaps Andrew Colvett is speaking out of not knowing because Mikey didn't tell him, or Charlie didn't tell him. That's not realistic. Charlie would have told him. You see, I do try. I genuinely try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I really do. When I first heard that Charlie was shot, and this person told me that he was married and only had been married a few years and that he had 2 very young children, my heart went out for her and the children, genuinely. When she gave the, actually before she started speaking at the memorial, I was concerned. I said, who's caring for this woman? I even did a post. I think it was the first post that I ever did about this whole thing. I'm like, who's caring for this woman who would encourage her to think that this was a good idea? Who's taking advantage of her? Who's manipulating her? And then she started to speak. And that idea that she was ironically, a victim in this whole thing, not that she orchestrated anything, but that she was a victim. Anyway, it was clear that the whole thing was political, was going to be politically manipulated. And that made me really sad. That genuinely made me sad. And when we have those reactions, it's only because we project what we would do or what we think we would do or how we think we would react. That's what we're saying. Even if we're not a widow, I've never been a widow, I think, okay, and a widow wouldn't act this way. We're just projecting our own life experience onto it, right? Through any of this, through any opinion that we have. That's why when I see these people that I believe are what we call bad actors, bad faith actors, in regard to defending her and in an exaggerated sense. Maybe there was a little bit that genuinely cared for her and believes in her and believes in TPUSA, and so is innately defensive of anything contrary to her. But it's this over-the-top, exaggerated, forget innocent until proven guilty, forget any evidence, forget the lack of shared of information, forget the car being detailed and sold, forget the crime, the scene of the crime being excavated and paved over, forget any of the contrary accounts, forget any of that, and just vehemently profess Tyler Robinson's guilt. So I can judge them for that. I don't condemn them for that because I don't know fully their life experience and what brought them to that point. And I think we need to remember, I know I need to remember, forgive me, I don't want to speak for everyone, that but for the grace of God, there go I. So there was an example of that I wanted to say. Enter note number 1. For an example of judging but not condemning, I just saw a response on X. I don't think it was to me. they were sharing the photo that I don't have because it was last minute, that Erica Kirk on our last post has like a cartoon of Charlie from the other side, because it's through a doorway, tossing a red hat to what appears to be a little boy on the other side of this doorway. And somebody responded, if this doesn't break your heart, you're soulless. So the judgment is, this should break your heart. The condemnation is, you don't have a soul. If this doesn't break your heart, the judgment, you don't have a soul. If you don't respond this way, you're going to hell. Going to hell is the condemnation. Okay, side note. Somebody asked me in response to the X post last night, which I got out just before midnight. I think it was 7:30, 8 o'clock, where I saw Andrew's text, and I said, okay, I'm going to share some receipts. And I started assembling notes and started recording, realized I wasn't going to be able to do it edit it down to 3 minutes, which seems to be the cutoff on some platforms. So I started over and just got to the point and then decided to do a live. So she responded and she said, I don't think did I put her? Let me see. Well, first we can do Candace's response. Andrew is lying through his teeth. I would take a lie detector test on this. He told me explicitly that BB offered to take Turning Point to the next level. And Charlie said to me, this was in the course of the same conversation where he told me that Charlie declined to have BB on his show, which is a big deal, a really big deal that he declined. I think Andrew tried to brush that off as, so what? No, that's a big deal. The only reason I knew that Bibi Netanyahu called in the Hamptons was because of Andrew Colvett. Men should not be capable, or anyone, she might mean that in the global sense, men should not be capable of telling a barefaced lie like this. We are a weaker society because of men like this. And women. I want to make the joke about that being the feminist in me, but there's such a misconception of that word. Like, I don't have hairy armpits. I haven't burned any bras. Okay. Doug, if you can hear me, I don't see the last 3 that I sent you. My son is talking to him. I can hear it. So let me see. Leave the studio. No, I don't want to leave the studio. So I responded because I was asked why I cared about this.
It's weird how you scroll down.
Yeah, it's weird how I scroll. Okay. Oh.
But you have to be down here. You can't be up here.
Okay. I guess it does show the question. Okay, that is a little early. Let me go back. I'm going to go back one more. And my intent isn't to call this person out. And I am going to need my glasses. It's just whatever. She said it publicly. Why do you keep harassing them for? What are you getting out of this? Didn't your parents raise you up better than that? It's hard to not go into therapist mode. Thanks for taking a moment to share your thoughts. I appreciate differing perspectives, believing iron sharpens iron, and that most of us are sincere in intention and pursuing truth. In our intention, that was to say. Side note, I can see why people don't like me. Using parental influence as a shame tactic is a projection of one's own own unresolved issues. I'm okay with you dumping on me. It allows me to encourage you to seek healing and peace in that area. God, I sound like an asshole. Primal wounds affect, damn it. I probably said something like everything. Whatever. Okay. So what do I want? Solid question. I want false teachers to be called out, the wolves in sheep's clothing to be exposed. I want scripture to stop being weaponized. I want our nation to be autonomous. I want the polarization to end. I want us to stop dismissing others as a whole based on political party affiliation. I want us to not be controlled by fear. I want us to stop being played. I want us to realize there is no us and there is no them. I want us to realize that the greatest battle is within ourselves. I want us to realize that our strongest ally, our strongest ally can be somebody who disagrees with us. Candace Owens liked Charlie. I didn't like Charlie. But the truth, the pursuit of truth binds. We want justice and it's coming. But if we, and then I share Romans 8, but if we hope for what we do not yet have, we wait for it patiently, which in all fairness is taken a little bit out of context, but the truth holds. Well, actually, it's not taken that much out of context. What faith is hoping for in what we have yet to see, right? Okay, I'm going to go to my notes. This is kind of mellow, but it's the lemon and ginger juice that I love so much, but apparently stains my teeth a little bit. All right. Bear with me. I haven't been accused straight up of doing any of this for money, and I don't need to defend myself. I want to share with people that have followed me for a while. I've touched on it a little bit, but money, I've never had it. I think of this story about, so I don't care about wanting it is my point. I'm thinking about how Sylvester Stallone was offered, it was a low ball, I don't know, maybe $1 million for Rocky, but they wanted somebody else to be Rocky. Trump tells this story at the Kennedy Center, or, he was giving out Kennedy Center awards. And he turned down the money, and Stallone says what they failed to realize is that $1 million didn't mean anything to me because I never had $1 million to begin with, which is an interesting take. Realized I was talking into the wrong part of this. Hold on. Let me know if you can't hear me. And well, I'm not keeping a close eye on comments at this point, but okay. So Doug was 20 and I was 21. This is all, it's an important foundation to this. I've already shared the bulk. I'm going to give you more details into the Aspen retreat and where some of these donors are coming from and why they're not supporting them anymore, which was a huge decision for them because they genuinely loved Charlie and spent a lot of one-on-one time with him, had his number, considered him a friend, but don't see TPUSA 2.0 anything reflecting what he had created. But Doug was 20 when we got married. I was 23. We didn't have jobs. I had just left a full-time ministry working with high school students in San Diego, which is part of the reason that I have a heart for this whole thing. Doug and I met in an organization, somewhat structured like TPUSA in college at Western Kentucky University, which is another reason we have a heart for this whole thing. The air is the same and at times a bit cult-like. And so that hit home for me. So being somebody that wasn't someone who watched Charlie Kirk's podcast, who wasn't overtly familiar with him other than the key points about like how he felt about women being at home, I didn't know a lot about Charlie Kirk. And what I did hear, I don't remember agreeing with him on much of anything. I also didn't watch Candace Owens. As a matter of fact, I could not tolerate the sound of her voice. Somebody had recommended a podcast, and out of respect for this friend, I tried to listen to it and I couldn't do it. And I honestly believe that it's because God, the universe, was preparing me for this time, because I think it bears witness to say that this subject, which has crossed, joined people from across the aisles, tore down barriers. I'm left leaning. I loathe Donald Trump. But a lot of the people who have connected with me in this platform and others adore him and are MAGA. But this issue binds us. So the question is going to be, how do we keep the conversation going after this is resolved? And we don't dismiss each other, and we don't dismiss somebody as a whole just because we don't agree about that one thing, because we are in a swipe left culture. That's why so many children are estranged from their parents. I think 3 out of 4 have had some level of estrangement. Because if it makes us uncomfortable, we just swipe it or block it. There is an appropriate time to block, but we block too easy. So I was leaving full-time ministry. We moved to Nashville with like 2 months rent. We didn't have money. We didn't have jobs. Not kidding. We didn't have jobs, but we wanted to be together, and we would have worked at McDonald's. I think Doug's first job interview turned into one of those things about selling knives. He took a delivery job where he had to be up at like 3 a.m. Yeah. Then we moved to Franklin, Tennessee, because I took a job where I worked about 70 hours a week, starting a youth ministry, a 5th and 6th grade ministry. It was a scaled down high school ministry, because at this point, 5th and 6th graders were lumped in with the first graders. It was like 1st to 6th grade. And these middle schoolers, they needed something for themselves. And I believed in that. So I took $500 a month, $500 a month to work about 70 hours a week to invest in this ministry, because I believed in it. Money wasn't the motivator. In 1995, we got married in 1992. In 1995, we believed God was calling us overseas to start youth centers for Muslims, Sikhs, and Hindus who were very much divided in high school, in grade school, by their religious upbringing and cultural upbringing. So in starting a youth center with basketball and snooker table, we brought these people together. We had to raise money to do that. I had to raise money to work with high school kids in San Diego. Money was never the motivator. And I know some of you already get that, and I wanted to share with you the backstory why, and why this whole thing is something that I am personally invested in on a soul level. Gosh, where I do resonate with some aspects of TPUSA, only to a certain extent, because I think saying point blank, have children even though you can't afford them, have children you can't afford, is dangerous. We had 4 birth and 4 adopted children at one point, 7 under the age of 11. And we very much adopted by faith. We birthed by faith. At one point I said, I have too many control issues to be on birth control, so let God just take the reign of this. That was our mindset. We were evangelical preachers. I love it when people see that I'm an actor in Hollywood and lean left, and they come out at me with scripture. And I'm like, I can scripture your ass into the ground. It's on. So we moved back in 2001 from London, had 3 young children. I was pregnant with number 4. Thankfully, the economy was such in London, we were able, through some help, to buy our home. It was like a duplex, not a duplex, like one building that's split in half. Is that a duplex? Small, but it was ours. And that enabled us to buy a place when we moved to Franklin, Tennessee, because the pound to the dollar was like 1.7 to 1. So we definitely weren't doing what we were doing for the money. And we started from scratch. Doug was on a certain career path, blue collar guy, working his way up through management. And then we went overseas, so we had to start all over. But we did have our house. But our financial plan was basically that God will provide, which unfortunately led to financial instability, the effects of which still impact our kids today. So the whole have children you can't afford, and saying it so blatantly and repeatedly, is reckless. And which is why Erica had to post or felt led to post a response, or Blake or whoever wrote it, to this in response to this editorial or article in the New York Times. So many of her people, her supporters, were saying, don't interact with the New York Times. And I guess forgot that I think the first interview that she gave 8 days after Charlie's assassination was in her condo to the New York Times, who had recently misquoted Charlie and caused a lot of disruption and really upset him. And then she did their book thing too. So no such thing as bad press, apparently, which is ironic. So the financial stresses, page 1. I just saw this comment. Don't I sell my art for a lot of money? I do. I don't sell it often. I don't advertise it. It's not my focus right now, but it's a blessing when it does sell. A lot of money. My last piece sold for $4,000. Now, it's my last piece before that went to Norway. That one went to Canada. And that was 5 years ago, maybe. So I do sell my art, but I don't advertise it. I don't push it. It's just kind of one of those things that when it's God's timing, it's God's timing. So, did that answer that question? I'm now going to be the target of bot farms that they send after it. That's okay. That's okay. It's not, I don't lie. If I make a mistake, I'll correct it. That happened about 3 months ago, and where I said that Charlie's parents were not at the memorial. And I said it confidently. And one of the paid Fed sloppers took me, I think it was just today, where I was like, slop. Oh, pig slop. They're like, some of these phrases, I'm like, what's that mean? Even Candy Colt took me a second. I'm just not tuned into that. This world is new to me. And this person came back and did a video saying, see, she lies. And so I did a video addressing her for the first time, even though she had done several videos. I was actually the first person she really went after, which I thought was a little flattering. And I responded and said, I made a mistake. And then she came back and said, you know what you did, you're lying. And at that point, you just like, I just smiled and let it go. Once they start to presume your heart, and funny enough, that's the thing that really got to Charlie on the podcast that he did, that I'm going to show a clip of, on Megyn Kelly. He was getting the pushback. He had just come out of the Hamptons, and he said, they're insulting my character. They're saying I'm a bad person. Let me find that one. Sorry. I thought it was here. I don't see it. But you've seen it. He's upset. He's really upset with Megyn Kelly. He had just, thank you for, these names are so hard for me to read. Edgerton is the last name, who just gifted 5 memberships. Thank you for doing that. My ADD is, I forget my train of thought if I look. So forgive me if I miss your comment. And I love that the point is really that you guys interact with each other. See, I already forgot my train of thought. He did the Megyn Kelly interview on the 6th, and the Hamptons meetings that was put together by Bill Ackman, not in his home, but apparently at a hotel, where there were influencers, the pro-Israel push. And that's where this meeting was staged, at a private dinner. Just Bill Ackman and Erica and a couple other people, a few other people, where BB called in. And Charlie came away from that, combined with texts he had received an onslaught of, that not only weaponized scripture, but questioned whether he was a good person or not, because he had the stances. It really upset him. It doesn't upset me, but it upset him. And I think that's just because it was really hard to separate how enmeshed he was, his love for Israel and the spiritual experience he said that he had there. He said his life was changed there. Side note, but remember, he went to Israel with CANDACE. Erica has a story where she and her mom saw Charlie in the airport. Her mom was like, go talk to him. And Erica, which seems contrary to her persona, did not approach him. And I believe full-heartedly that it's because Candace was there, and Candace is discerning. I also believe that when dark entities are attached to people, they can't interact with light, although that wouldn't explain her ability to get close to Charlie. So sometimes, it comes more to light when I think it through. All right. Let me get back on track here. So I wasn't familiar with Charlie Kirk. I don't think I had heard a turning point before. If you were in the same position, please comment and let me know. Like, did you follow Charlie Kirk? Did you not? Like, if you did not, I'm particularly interested in that. Or if you did not watch Candace before all this, I'm interested in that, because it speaks so much for the Epstein files, for a lot of questions about this war, and for Eric Kirk to be lumped into the category of people that are joined with massive differences, but those issues joining people. That was not clear sentence structure, but you get me. Okay. I don't think I ever heard a turning point before. If so, I don't have any recollection of it. Along those lines, in the Aspen retreat, these donors have no recollection whatsoever of Erica being there. That doesn't mean she wasn't. They just don't remember her. She didn't speak, and they went to every meeting. These were small, intimate meetings. Only 20 organizations, businesses were invited. Not all of them brought a partner or spouse with them, business partner or whatever with them. It was a small meeting. They went to every meeting. And when it comes to fundraising and building relationships with fundraising, having your spouse there is important, especially if you ever had the plan to pass the organization on to them, because then the fundraising falls on them, to the person that spearheads the ministry, the CEO of the ministry. Even if she took the position in name only, her influence, her being, influences giving, which it has, but not to their benefit. So when she says things like, I knew everything, I was involved with everything, there was no light between us, I was his vault, even though some of those things infer more of a personal connection than business. But she has said, like, she knew everything. She was right there with him every step of the way. For them to not know that she was even at this event, if she was, says a lot. It certainly communicates that he didn't have any intention of turning this over to her. And I know this isn't the point of this. They said he most definitely did not bring up anything about succession. Not at all. Never once. So therefore never said anything about Erica being CEO, which is not only contrary to everything he professed Turning Point to be. They're basically saying he was a liar and a hypocrite. As is she, not exactly honoring her husband. And by saying that she's now the sole supporter, right? When he made it such a big deal, he said, you're not a man if you can't provide for your family. Don't get married if you can't provide for your family. So I have firsthand witnesses, people that were there, who said that was never said. Now, if you know me, you trust me. If you don't know me, like people in the comments sometimes say, I don't know, why would I trust you? Whatever. I wrote this note just before jumping on here that there's an irony in these people who don't believe this testimony. Again, not court testimony, but just personal story account testimony. When they are so willing to admit, to accept the things that Turning Point are doing, which is absolutely contrary to everything Charlie was. Okay. Yeah, Charlie, it's biblical. It's biblical for Erica to step into this role, to honor her husband by doing this. There's nothing biblical about that. Notice they don't quote scripture to back it up. And the widow scriptures, oh my God, widow. I've never heard people share scripture so angrily. And my point is they're taken out of context. When Erica talks about the joy of the Lord, the joy. Consider it joy. Consider it joy. She's so angry. Or in her speech at the memorial, she says, Charlie said, "Here I am, Lord, send me." And in my video, I said, people usually quote that verse with a little more sense of optimism, trusting in God, being excited for what's to come. She says scripture with an air of resentment. That's interesting to me. So it's just ironic that even though I have flight logs of these people, at this point, I'm not going to say who they are. I'm not going to say who they are. I will be present and host them when they decide to share it themselves. It's not necessarily a safe environment for them to do so for a couple reasons. One, they don't want people to know who they are because these are very wealthy people. They don't take video. They don't get their cell phones out at these events because just for a general respect of each other's privacy. The nowhere does Turning Point publish who these donors are because people would pursue them, other organizations. You know how there's, crowdsourcing information. What is it? Geofencing or whatever, where, if information is collected, it can be sold. I don't know if it's sold in geofencing. I don't know a lot about that, but there are lists that can be sold, bought by people who want to sell things to certain people groups. People would pursue them. People that have a lot of money are asked for a lot of money, and it gets exhausting. As a matter of fact, of the CEO and CO that I talked to, they shared about events that they didn't go to just because they know it's going to be a money ask. And okay, I'll jump to this. This is significant. And I don't know if I've heard anybody say this. One of the focuses for this fundraising event was that Charlie Kirk wanted to start a college. Have you heard that before? Did I miss that? Pardon me, I'm going to cuss. I shit you not. He wanted to start a college. He had recently purchased, I don't know what recently is, in the last year or so, I didn't ask for a date, a $400,000 building in Phoenix that was going to be made into a college. Okay, I'm looking at the comments now. I haven't heard it. Never heard of that. Nope, never heard of that. No, wow. Yeah. I was like, what? What? And they said, oh, yeah. Yeah. He was starting a college. And this was before. Now, this was before the Aspen event, because I got to be careful. Either they themselves or somebody they knew, that rooms were being sold, classrooms were being sold and were being purchased. Basically, get your name on a classroom for X amount of money. I keep talking over here. The mic is here. I noticed that CANDACE, when she's on, especially being interviewed, she'll sit like this. Maybe I need to be better about that. I have to get a drink again. Sorry. I think the medicine that I took earlier for the migraines I get, which I'm not in pain now, but I think they dry me out. The allergies have been so bad. Doug's been waking up with migraines, but my eyes are, very squinty and probably red. Okay. So yes, he wanted to start a college. And they refer to it as a college. And maybe, I don't know, he would call it a training center or what have you, but they referred to it as a college. And they were selling rooms. They were fundraising for this college by selling rooms. Now, these donors, these are the top 20 donors. We're talking big money, not BB money, but big money. Candace said, what the budget for Turning Point? I don't know that. I think I heard $150 million a year. So when BB offered to take it to the next level, $120 million would do that. Now, next level, what's that mean? A lot of wordsmithing, even in Andrew's post, when they say TP or TPUSA couldn't accept the money. Well, maybe somebody else could, or it could go through a different whatever, that they can't accept foreign money. Well, it could be directed as something else. So a lot of wordsmithing. Plus, we know Andrew has lied. He has said that he's been, willing to stretch the truth. To be willing to lie for Erica on the day of the funeral. What a effing snake she is. What a coward. To put somebody else's husband in that position. And for him to do it. I believe my dog, Doug, could you come get the dog if you hear this, please? I believe his wife has biblical grounds for divorce. Very much so. He's broken a vow of putting no one before her. He's definitely put Erica Kirk before her. He's been willing to compromise his integrity, his name, his family's name. He has lied for her. To be on the phone with the surgeon and for him to be the one that comes out. Not Erica, freaking coward. Not Erica, who says she's not afraid of anything. It's moments like these, the seething resentment. Generally, I don't feel hate for her or anything, but in these moments where I see so clearly how she is willing to sacrifice others. It'd be one thing if she put herself out there and claimed he had a Superman neck, but she denied even knowing that, and that Andrew went rogue. And he continued to lie for her. Oh, in all sincerity, in this moment, I just pray for his wife, who needs to hear people outside of their bubble say it's okay to get out of there. You talk about a toxic shitstorm. I don't know her. I don't know anything about her. She is incredibly private. Almost not on social media at all, other than a brief mention of her business, which is event planning, I think, or it was. This is not what she signed up for. And it's not just that, life throws unexpected things your way. This is a betrayal. A betrayal. She probably, I suppose, this is speculation, very much admired Charlie and his vision. I didn't agree with it. But I respect his humanity and justice. I don't think enough attention has been focused on the wives. I think if I could do a candid interview with anyone, it would be Mikey McCoy's wife, but first and foremost, Andrew's wife, who nobody outside their bubble would fault. And again, I believe there's biblical grounds. Okay. God, the things that Andrew said about lying, I clipped a couple of those. Oh, darn it. Oh, there's some up off to the left. I didn't. Okay, I believe it's this one. Okay. In regard to Jimmy Kimmel's apology. Yes, Jimmy got emotional. So what? He's emotional for himself because he almost torched his entire career. That's one of those things about presuming to know somebody's heart. Kimmel is an unrepentant liar. People speak curses over themselves when they do things like this. Some people call it karma, right? Kimmel is an unrepentant liar who tried to blame Charlie's assassination on the part of the country that just spent the last 2 weeks praying and holding vigils. What he's really saying is that he still thinks it's fair game to slander conservatives. They came out of the gate saying Tyler did this, like immediately. That man, that young man. And then in her interview with Jesse Waters, he asks, do you think it's a coincidence that Charlie was being asked about transgender or whatever? I don't remember the exact wording, but it was involved coincidence. And she said, I don't believe, no, that's not her voice. I don't believe in coincidences. Okay, so we're going to make it a huge transgender thing, and all that's gone. Now it's just some lone guy. That's why sometimes I think that this wasn't some international operation or planned by them, because they're genuinely stupid. I believe their best alibi is their ignorance and lack of coordination. Again, I don't think they expected Erica on Megyn Kelly's stage to say that a video existed. They weren't saying a paper existed. They weren't claiming there was anything in writing, which even I know Charlie Kirk would have, because he was organized, he was structured, he crossed his T's and dotted his I's. They didn't even claim that anything was in writing. They were sticking to the he told us story. He told us. And at first, it was just inferred that it was just a few people. He told just a few of us, and then it evolved to everybody knew. He told us. Then I believe the timeline is she said that, and then it came out that they would only release the audio because people would say it's AI. And I'm like, everybody claims everything is AI. I've been accused of being AI because I can be very articulate. But there are ways for that to be proven. I think she said that in this narcissistic moment of, again, I've referred to this, when you live and operate in a bubble. And this is the existence for pastors' wives often. And she essentially was a pastor's wife for all purposes' sake. She was. They just live in this bubble. So you combine that with her, whatever label you want to put on narcissism. They almost all, they seem to all apply. That people are just going to believe what she says. After all, she put on her LinkedIn account these degrees, and I think Charlie believed them. I think he believed she was smart because, in my opinion, I think she studied up for that meeting at Bill's Burgers. Bill's Burgers. Do you remember how often look up any time she refers to Bill's Burgers and the disdain that it was Bill's Burgers? Compare that to the Amazing Race audition tape they sent in. Her and JT Massey, I think his name is, the baseball player. Sorry, I was thinking about that video. Okay, I did find a video. There was something circulating where people will show clips of how in love she obviously was with him. Maybe she was. Maybe she was, but when they're showing video to prove it, it just made me think of this. I think it starts with video of it. All right, now why isn't this playing? I was all queued up and ready to go. Okay, this one. I'm sorry it's small. So here they are. Look, they're so in love. Who could question they're in love? Well, I don't know. She looks pretty in love in this video too. Look how happy she looks. There are other parts that, obviously, if you watch that She's My Kind of Crazy video of just the big smile and the laughing and the hanging on and all that. Now, people can be in love more than once, and allegedly she was dating this guy. Whatever. But these videos of, look, she's smiling, she's happy, it doesn't prove anything. There are ones I thought I added on here. I guess I forgot to attach it. The ones from the Amazing Race video. I've actually never seen, in all the videos I've watched of the past, it's not just because she's a grieving widow now, but going way back, I have never seen that woman lit up with joy, happiness, than some of these other videos, like the JT Massey ones. That was like a normal 25-year-old in love, apart from her chatting up the 15-year-old. So normal is a bit of a misnomer, but allegedly, no, she did chat. We have the text. I can say that. I still want to sometime have Doug read them as Eric Kirk, and like I'd be the 15-year-old, and because I think if people heard it, a man saying that, they would have a much different reaction than Erica Kirk. I digress. But she in those videos with JT Massey, she is glowing and happy, and we spent every day, every minute of 5 months together. We just can't stay away from each other. She didn't say, but that was the inference. She talked about that it takes her forever to go to bed with her nighttime routine. And she looks at him for affirmation, like, right, honey? But in the meanwhile, she did a magazine article where she says they would call each other every night to pray before they went to bed. It's the video where she says, about not having sex before marriage because it's against their religion, even though she point blank says that they're spending nights together and that it's like a slumber party. Some time ago, I did a video of comparing what she was saying on stage in California in regard to her relationship with Charlie, and how when they got married, how fun it was, because it was like having a sleepover with your best friend, and they wouldn't go to bed till 2 a.m, and all these things. I believe that was January at Greg Laurie's church, you know, the one who's been accused of protecting sex offenders in Romania. All her circle seems to have a similar theme thread. But I compared that, what she was saying about Charlie, to what she was saying in that video with JT Massey, and how they were sharing, her and JT were sharing their story about how they met. And she was saying the same things, except up till 2 o'clock in the morning, it was up till 3 o'clock in the morning. But she said, you know, it's like spending the night with your best friend, and so on and so forth. But one of the big differences in their story was that JT took her to a really nice restaurant. And she gushes over that a little bit in the audition tape. And I looked it up. It's a nice restaurant. Whereas, you know, Charlie suggested Bill's Burgers. And I'd never been there before. I've lived in Manhattan for how long? I've never been to Bill's Burgers. It was really, really interesting. Okay. Back on track. Where I started to hear more about Charlie, and I had to go back and look it up because I didn't know the date. That is one thing I have some empathy for Erica, is the date thing. I have a hard time remembering dates as well. So I didn't condemn her for like not being in love, for not remembering certain dates. But I looked it up because I remember before he died that he was speaking out. He had questions about October 7th. He had questions about Israel and the extent of the genocide they were committing. He was pushing back on this administration. Remember the AmFest with Megyn Kelly, and they're like, I think the state, he's like, I think the state of New York should release them and just put it out there for everybody to see. And Megyn was saying, but protect the victims. He was like, just put it all out there. And remember, we know that Trump called him shortly thereafter and said, drop this. One account I heard said that he was like begging him, please drop this. Another account was that he was furious. The end result was the same, that Charlie came out and said, I'm just going to trust the administration with this, basically, is what he was saying. But that got my attention. So that was the end of July, August, where he started to come on my radar again. I wasn't looking for it. It was just things that was coming up on my feed. So I started to have a bit more respect for him. I have respect for people who buck the system. I would have had respect for Erica Kirk if she just would have came out and said, I know that this is contrary to what Charlie said, but I have such a respect for this organization. I'm not comfortable at this point just putting it in somebody else's hands. I want to, I feel led to keep it going. Thankfully, I have a team of people, and, my kids are at an age where they can stay by my side, whatever. And we would just be arguing. I actually wouldn't be arguing anything. I would go, okay, that's a bit hypocritical. But I didn't say anything when she whispered over that coffin. I didn't say anything when she was in Charlie Kirk's office petting the chair and with Charlie baby. I mean, I didn't say anything about that. I didn't say anything when she's on the tarmac with Usha being filmed, obviously by her own people, because the press was across the street. They weren't allowed near. So any press video you saw, there was a highway and a fence between. She had her own people right there, posted videos of her bent over mourning. I didn't say anything. I'm pretty sure I didn't say anything when Trump came out. I'm not 100% on this, but when Trump came out and politicized it, because I expected that. I expected Trump to do that. But the white supremacist Christian nationalist hate rally that they were trying to frame as a memorial, that did it. The inferences that Charlie was nothing less than a messiah, that did it. Her voiceover introduction, where she is all but quoting scripture, but inserting Charlie's name, Charlie, that did it. Stephen Miller's all but plagiarized speech by Gable, you know, that little mustache guy. It was disgusting. It was us and them. J.D. Vance said something that was nothing short of be prepared to die for your country. And in that moment, I thought they're going to go to war. And that so much of that was laying a foundation for what the inevitability of going to war with Iran, because Charlie was the only one stopping that. And I believe I agree with a CIA analyst who said they took out Charlie because it was the closest thing to taking out one of Trump's sons. And that him receiving a fatal wound in the neck and the throat basically was symbolic about silencing him. Gosh, I watched I don't know if I have this on here. I didn't edit it. I started just getting flooded with so many aspects of this whole thing. But he, in one of his last podcasts, says something about if something doesn't sit right with you, your gut is usually right. But he also says that they were live streaming the killing of the Jews when he was questioning if there was a stand down order on October 7th, and that they were live streaming the killing of the Jews. And I thought, there, you know, the correlation to his death being live streamed. Was it live streamed technically, or just being filmed and circulated? Some people were probably sharing it live. There's another video, a clip that I'll share sometime, where he's sitting there and he's playing with his neck. And it's the side of the exit wound. Not kidding. I wouldn't make that up. So I will say that I had hoped, I don't know why, I expected Trump to politicize it out of the gate. I had hoped that the wife of Charlie Kirk would use it to be unifying. Again, just projecting. She clearly had no intention of doing that. She declared war. The echoes, the cries of this widow. I was like, what the? I think I even said, like, what the F? Okay. Tyler Robinson, she did that on the 12th. Tyler Robinson had not even gone before a judge. He didn't go before a judge until September 16th. The accused had not even gone before a judge yet. You know what they say about people that protest this too much? The way that they are trying to just bury this guy. And she tries to say, I don't want it on my ledger. When Jesse asked, the death penalty, do you want the death penalty? I don't want that on my ledger. And then the last interview, the one where her outfit matched the chair, she said, I don't want God to say, I forgive you, except for this one thing. a ledger and God. She doesn't believe the gospel. She doesn't believe the gospel. Jesus died over 2,000 years ago for our sins, they say. It said. That means you would have to trust that he died for all your sins because it was over 2,000 years ago. So he knew that in forgiving you, he knew what he was getting himself into. But all of a sudden the rules are, I'm going to stand before God and there's going to be this one thing, but my son's death was not big enough for that one thing. That's absurd. That's absurd. She told a Jewish father whose daughter was killed in that town hall with Barry Weiss. This infuriated me. He asked her if she would condemn anti-Semitism on the right. One of the first things she said was, no, she said that to the person who was the last one to talk to Charlie. After she said there's no coincidences, but she wants to be face to face with that guy. At some point in that thing, she goes, you know my heart. Why would I ever condone violence? We don't freaking know her heart. We don't know her heart. You know my heart. Anyway, in talking to the father who asked the question, of course, all these questions she was well aware of them. This is the interview. They had to start and stop quite a bit where she is out of her mind. And again, I thought, who is caring for this woman to let her keep doing these things? And apparently she did all these interviews and the several with Fox within a few day period. So no wonder she was fried. I thought, who's caring for this woman? I thought she's freaking crazy and who's caring for her? But he said, will you condone anti-Semitism on the right? She danced around it. And then she proceeded to tell him, this Jewish man whose daughter was killed for anti-Semitism, because of anti-Semitism, that you cannot ignore the New Testament. I don't remember the exact quote, but it was, you cannot separate the Old Testament from the New Testament. Jews don't accept the New Testament. And she had a few minions in the audience just clapped. This man lost his daughter. And she's saying the whole foundation of his faith is wrong so she could have her little clip moment. I was going somewhere else with that, but man, that pissed me off. We were watching that, and that was one of those audible moments that I don't do often. Thank you to the new members. Just what the self-righteousness. But even there in that one, she said, I don't drink. It doesn't, not because I'm holier than, she couldn't think of the word thou. I took that to mean she doesn't drink anymore. So I didn't get on the bandwagon of, saying, oh, but look at the drinks. I did at some point point out the drinks. But my intent, it wasn't like, see, she really did drink. It was more like she didn't think that comment through. Like, what I said was, she could have just said any more. But that's not Erica Kirk. It doesn't fit the brand. It doesn't fit the pastor's wife brand. The best pastor's wife, and pastors blow up that brand. They understand that grace runs deeper, so they can share the messy stuff because grace runs deeper. Those are people who believe the gospel. They believe it. So they can share the messy stuff because they believe the promises. So there's no shame. There's no shame involved. And then she said, I don't date in Manhattan, or I never dated in Manhattan. I took that to mean she didn't date men that were in Manhattan. So when it came out that she was dating people in that time frame, I didn't jump on that bandwagon. I've given her the benefit of the doubt. I spent over 3 days, long days, doing deep dive research because I didn't believe that she and Blake Wynn met up in a Beverly Hills hotel to hook up, that they were drinking in the bar and she was fawning on him. I spent 3 days debunking that. And the creator that shared that has shared incredible things. That's where I got the Amazing Race video from and several other things. But that one, in my opinion, and the information I get, was a miss. And I have to be willing to share the things that, to not just follow the status quo. That was never my intention. When I saw the video of her with Charlie Kirk and the podcast talking about relationships, I loved how when someone was asking for dating advice, she talked about getting checked every 6 months, blood work done every 6 months. It was for STDs. That was real. He immediately came in with, don't have sex before marriage. And she said, don't have sex before marriage. I did a video that's still up that said, did Charlie Kirk spiritually abuse Erica? I was in process with this whole thing, but I recognized this woman was suppressing herself. I recognized that. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Charlie was authentic. Let's go right into Aspen full force. He was authentic. Obviously had no problem arguing with what he wanted to argue about. His sense of humor is a thing that people are testifying to. He didn't suppress his laughter when he thought things were funny, even if they were irreverent. Is that the right? Am I saying that right? He was obviously just authentic and transparent. When he went on Megyn Kelly, it was like he was talking just to her. He had just come out of the Hamptons, which was, I think, the 4th to the 6th. On the 6th, he's back in his studio, which they can do because all the private jets, or the private jet. And he's just heartbroken. And she's egging him on, which makes me a little suspicious. He acts like he didn't know she was going to bring this up. I'm glad you brought this up, Megyn, he says. And she eggs it on. It's crossed my mind if that wasn't a role to see how far he would go or how he really felt, because people were angry with him. He had turned down a significant amount of money. So that authenticity would, of course, manifest itself in an environment that was a safe space. Like at a resort in Aspen, where 20 businesses, 40, probably no more than 50 people in this intimate setting, he felt like he could, these were people he trusted because they invested so wholeheartedly in them. So part of the event was that he would have one-on-one dinners. Let me say, first of all, this place, low ballroom, low end room, $1,300 a night. Let's say they got a deal. 20 rooms. I'm not going to do the math, but let's say they got a deal for $1,000 a night. 4 nights, $4,000. These were the top donors. These rooms were paid for by people that gave that give $10 a month, $20 a month, $50 a month, people who would never be invited to that event. I don't comprehend how people give money. As somebody who was in fundraising for almost 20 years, how you take that kind of money from those kind of people, from people who are just scraping by, but who bought it hook, line, and sinker, and who are paying for private jets and for millionaires, multi-millionaires to go on private retreats, secret Aspen retreat. Wow. Thank you for your likes. I always forget, but please like. Apparently it helps. I'm not even sure what it helps, but boosts this or whatever. If you would give a like and if you would subscribe, and let me know if you're new subscriber. I would love to know. Okay, so at this event, Charlie had one-on-one dinners, and when I say one-on-one dinners or meals, he would have to do more than one a day to get everybody in. And maybe it wasn't everybody, but it was donors I talked to. One-on-one dinners in these examples. One-on-one in the sense that it was Mikey McCoy was there. Mikey McCoy was there. So Mikey could testify. Mikey McCoy could clear this up very quickly that Charlie said he was offered $120 million to start Israel TPUSA. To start Israel TPUSA. Or to just agree to it. All he had to do was agree to it. He could share how Charlie's mood was enthusiastic and joyful when he was talking at this dinner, private dinner, about the high school chapters and how excited he was about the growth of the high school chapters, which a report just came out that only 10% of them are real, apparently. Now, remember, I've engaged with 2 CEOs and 1 COO. The story is the same. Private dinner. Mikey was there. Mikey's quiet. He seems meek and mild anyway. Charlie's excited to talk about other things. Specifically, they noticed a specific enthusiasm about the high school chapters. But when the subject turned to Israel, he dropped. And not angry. It wasn't angry. It was solemn. It was oppressed. And he shared very specifically that he was offered $120 million. This really isn't breaking news. CANDACE months ago brought up, I thought she said $150 million. I mean, she said he was offered money and reiterated that to Sean Ryan. A lot of people are like, it wasn't a real interview. He just sat there going, wow, wow. He does that a lot. Joe Rogan, I think, who I don't watch, but what I've seen, he has a similar approach. It's not like he's an expert on some of the things that the guests are in there to talk about. It's like, oh, I didn't know that. He's like learning things. But it's kind of his style to be like, whoa. He's very sincere. He's somebody I'd never watched before, but have watched. So I did ask if there was any video or audio that they recorded, and that is when they said they don't do that. These are people, they're not out like for a souvenir moment. These are people who spent a lot of one-on-one time. For example, one CEO specifically said that they spent, like, I said, out of a year, how often? And they said like 20 hours a year, which is a lot in Charlie Kirk time when you think about that. But she said he would come by for a couple hours at a time. That she said the quote was, "We knew him very, very well, very, very, very well. You know, direct texting. You know, full access, full access." And that the relationships were real, not just performative, not just schmoozing, and that Erica was never involved. 2 of the top 20 donors have no recollection, like never met Erica, never met her, didn't see her at Aspen. These are people that also go to Mar-a-Lago events, that support Trump, that would consider themselves, I believe it's safe to say, no, they wouldn't consider themselves MAGA, but would vote Republican again. Who still go to Mar-a-Lago events and fundraisers and are actually still going to TPUSA has another fundraiser coming up, or there's an event coming up where there's a TPUSA separate event kind of in the midst of it. Yeah. And they're heartbroken. They believed in Charlie and the vision. In a nutshell, they simply don't like Erica Kirk, and they no longer trust the organization, which is true for a lot of people. She also said, one of them said that at Mar-a-Lago, there's only a certain time frame that you're allowed to have your cell phone out, and they saw somebody get tackled who had their cell phone out outside of the designated time, and they got tackled, she said. Okay. I've said this already, that I think a lot of the mess that we see is because they didn't expect Erica to come out and say that a video existed. And when you're in this land of narcissism, you just think people are always going to believe you. And then you see people either go into victim mode or raging mode. And have you noticed there's not middle ground for Erica Kirk? It's either this kind of meek and mild, you know, when she was standing by Sarah Huckabee in Arkansas, and her little, you know, standing all demure in her two-tone jeans and Little House in the Prairie look that she had going on. I will tell you this. I don't know if you've noticed, but Erica Kirk doesn't spend money on clothes. Now, I'm not talking about her general sense of style, which is a discussion in and of itself, but the green sparkly dress that she wore for accepting a Fox award, you know, the really heavy makeup and that green sequence dress she wore at, I don't know if it was at the White House, but some Washington event. You can look at her social media. She's worn that dress before. The event that was the gala. No, she wore black for that. What's the white that looked kind of like a wedding dress? The correspondence dinner. The correspondence dinner dress. She wore that before, like more than a year ago, I think. The two-tone jeans, I think more than a year ago, I saw. There's a little dress that just came out I think this was like a Orleans picture where she's standing between, I don't know if it's a governor or whatever, and his wife. And that it's like this little dress that I've seen pictures of before from a long time ago. And the tennis shoes like have these, I didn't take a super close look, but I think they're the ones that have like the little silver spikes on them that she's had forever and are in pictures a long time ago. So whereas I would suggest she get a stylist, clearly she doesn't have one, nor is she investing in one. So I know she caught a bunch of crap, and I actually jumped on that bandwagon for her, buying the $1,000 tracksuit or $800 tracksuit or whatever from that place that escapes me. Not realizing it at the time, it was because, they didn't have clothes, or she didn't have clothes where she was. But she doesn't, generally speaking, spend money on clothes. So I don't either, but I could spend, money at Goodwill, find good stuff. But obviously she can't do that anymore. I mean, be out in public like that. Okay. I had like 15 pages. Some of it I inadvertently went into ahead of time. Not that. So because I forget, because I did a long recording for social media before I finally just spit out a 3-minute version that went up on X first. I kind of forget like what I've already shared with you or not. But when these people reached out, because I obviously needed to know they were legit, because there's no list. I mean, they tell me the name of the businesses that they own, but there's no list that I could compare to. Even then, I would have questions. So I asked for like hotel receipts, but they said that in this situation, you just show up and they have, your rooms booked for you because TPUSA books the room. So they wouldn't have a receipt of that. But what I received were receipts, flight receipts. My intention was to show these, but redacted. Let me do this. But the point was that so much, my thinking was that so much would be redacted. I don't know that it would prove anything. And because what they said was the person that contacted them, like there is a team apparently for the big money donors. She called it the big money donors. And so I asked if I could share the name of the person that reached out or contacted them with the invitation. And they said that it would significantly narrow down their identity, because each person on this team, based on what they said, was assigned to a few of these 20 that they were divided up. But the invitation email, I can say, was sent late May. Says, for the first time, Charlie Kirk is planning a private retreat for Patriots Circles members. Patriots Circle members. Patriots Circle. Patriot. I don't know why. What I'm thrown by is that it's apostrophe S circle member, like that the circle belongs to the Patriot. It doesn't make any sense. Just so Patriot Circle members. This unforgettable gathering will take place at St. Regis in Aspen from August 14th through 17th. They stayed 4 nights. To guarantee attendance, I need to set up your reservation this week. Always pressure, always I close. That's standard. Please let me know if you would like. Space is extremely limited, as it would be because they were paying 4 nights for the hotel and the hotel. When I confirmed the price with the donor, and I said, it looks like, you know, these are at least $1,300 a night rooms. They said that seems low for St. Regis, but this was in August. I don't know if obviously the time of year matters. Thank you for helping us turn Gen Z into the most conservative generation in American history. Thank you for helping us turn Gen Z into the most conservative generation in American history. I just got the email and kind of put them in a file to have them. I didn't read them closely. Ugh, thank you for helping us turn Gen Z into the most conservative generation in American history. I don't, this wasn't like a fireworks and sparkles event. Very, very intimate in the mountains, not glittery. People covered their own flights. Turning Point didn't pay for flights. One-on-one time with Charlie. Again, Mikey McCoy. And maybe he didn't tell Andrew, but Charlie would have. What they said was he was joyous over expanding high school chapters. The subject turned to Israel and he became solemn, but not quiet. He shared his views in a way, but he was sad. They said everyone attended every meeting. Charlie, like I've already said, never mentioned anything about succession. And somebody said it wouldn't be the place to at this event. Like he was sharing about the college he wanted to start, you know, the $400,000 building that they had just purchased. And you know, it's vision casting, and it's good reports, always positive, upbeat. The wording was, in fact, to take it to the next level, whatever that means, and that he just had to agree. Not even get the process going, just to agree. I don't know why these people wanted to connect with me and not like to Candace, who obviously has a much more significant platform. One of them did say that it's more intimidating. So the fact that Turning Point claimed that Charlie had talked about Erica becoming CEO, and that they claimed it happened at this event. How stupid. How stupid. When you have 20 of your top donors there. I don't know what they were banking on, that these people were just too highbrow. A lot of people who you wouldn't consider highbrow be wealthy. And considering how much they love Charlie, they're talking about it. And yeah, they talk to me, and I'm not trying to convince you. I am not trying to convince you. In my mind, this is sharing information with people on here I already have a relationship with. Do with it what you will. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm telling you though, there's a time they're on the edge, on the verge of going public themselves. So close. Because they're tired of it. Needless to say, they don't donate to Turning Point anymore. I've said this already. They don't like Erica. They don't trust her and no longer trust the organization. Bet your arse that Turning Point has still aggressively been pursuing them. Excuse me. Quotes that came up in these conversations. I think I've said this one already. Evil, that they see Erica and Turning Point as evil disguised as good. Someone literally said, one of them literally said, quote unquote, these are horrible people. The fact, from what I understand, I don't have the documentation, but that the annual gala is typically like $5,000 a plate, but it went up to $10,000 a plate after Charlie died. Seizing the moment. Okay, this was interesting. When I asked if it ever met Erica, excuse me, they said no. I said, was Erica really like a stay-at-home mom? Because when that subject comes up online, inevitably there's somebody that says she wasn't really a stay-at-home mom. She was with him, traveling. And this donor said that it was really only in the last 6 to 8 months that she started traveling with him more. I don't know. I haven't documented that. I'm just saying what they said. And every time the children were with her, the only time that they weren't, like, was when she was on stage. That would be suffocating. That would be suffocating. I would have more respect if she said, you know, after my experience Manhattan or whatever, you know, I realized I really love the working environment and I miss that and I want to get back into that. And thankfully I have a great support system to help with the kids. There are a lot of conservative Christian women who work and would find it refreshing to not be condemned for doing so. Oh, they said that it was clear in their interactions with Charlie. Again, they were very, very close to him, was the direct quote, that it was clear that he believed and made it clear that Erica's role was to be home with the children. So clear. And that this tight-knit group of 20 donors, top donors, you know, it was said that it would have gone on blast, as private as these people are, if Charlie would have announced some kind of, mentioned it in passing, that if something happens to me, Erica would do a great job. that word would have gotten out quickly because it was so contrary. It would also affect their giving because it has now, because of what they're doing being so contrary to Charlie's message. But it would have been talked about. There's a common sense factor that, again, they get in this bubble and they think that any narrative they create is just going to be absorbed. I think they very much underestimated how many people would be interested in this, like myself, somebody who's left leaning, yet comes from an evangelical background, Catholic first, then evangelical. I feel like I was prepared for such a time as this. I really do. Every aspect of it. To the point of, Doug and I were in a reality show episode that you can't find anymore because it was called, I almost said Twisted Sisters. It was called Listed Sisters. I think it was for HGTV. It's like a home makeover situation. Everything was a lie. Everything was a lie about it. We hadn't sold our house. They announced that it was. They had to us pretend that we had bought a house that we didn't. The whole thing was a freaking lie. But the fact, the performative nature of Erica, I can relate to that. I can understand that. People make fun of, I just saw a video of CANDACE dancing and I don't know, some hip hop video related thing. What they don't realize is that there are sound checks and screen checks, and clearly it didn't look like those girls, there were 3 of them, including Candace, weren't giving it their all. To me, it looked like a screen test, a sound check, all that, whatever, it doesn't matter. But people that are in front of the camera now have been in front of the camera other times. I have. Have you seen the Michael Jackson movie? I love how many of you recognize me in that. And at first I was like, really? First of all, it was so quick. Like I turned away for a second and I missed me after almost a year of waiting for that movie to come out. We went to the theater, which we never do because it cost a fortune. And I missed it. I missed it. And I cried for about 2 minutes. And then I was like, okay, get over it. Big the world. And now it's out. Like you can stream it or something. But I love that some of you have recognized me in that, and it really surprised me. But then I realized that you see me often. We've spent a lot of time on here. So okay. Somebody said, you don't prioritize your children. Not surprised. I don't know if that's to me or not. I'm so new to this. And that's the kind of thing where I'm like, what, am I going to defend my parenting style here? Out of the youngest is now 25. Somehow we all survived. Okay. Forgive these pauses here. Again, there are some legalities to this, so I am being more cautious. I tell you, that Megyn Kelly interview, if you haven't seen that, it was August 6th. I only saw it a couple months ago, maybe 3 months ago. Time is a blur right now. But it wrecked me. Oh my God, I wept. I wept. Oh my God. He was so worked up that I didn't realize that he had these tics, like blinking and kind of body tics. I didn't realize that, but boy, it was in full force. When I saw how upset he was, yet had been hearing Erica in interviews say things like, my team has to deal with these attacks and accusations. And if you go after them when they're so upset, I thought, she hasn't acknowledged at all how upset Charlie was. Everything's perfect. Everything's perfect. She literally freaking said he was the perfect husband and father. They don't exist. And the overstatement, I was his vault. I knew everything. The extremes. It's so easy to dismiss if somebody says always or never, which we're not supposed to do in arguments. That escalates things, but nothing discredits somebody quicker than saying always or never or any of that, or the extremes, like he was perfect. He was perfect. He took his wedding ring off. How many men take off their wedding rings? If you're a guy, do you take off your wedding ring? I don't have a lot of men here, which I love. I mean, if you're a man and you're here, thank you for being here. I love that. But apparently I appeal to a demographic that's like 40 and up, and women. I love being a woman's woman. I love that. Erica's not. Erica's not. My God, when she went on Megyn Kelly in November in that large audience of people, and Megyn brought up the hug, JD's hug, and Erica laughed and went straight into, if you're making fun of a hug, you must really need a hug. Okay, no, not making fun of hugging, not calling out hugging, calling out that hug. Do you think if Candace hugged Charlie that way, Erica wouldn't be a little upset? Or if anybody hugged Charlie that way? See, in narcissism, the rules don't apply to them, as we've seen consistently. The rules, and how she met, she told a woman in the Barry Weiss interview. Now it was different. What happened to me, it was different. Get married young. I was in my 30s, but I'm different. Stay at home. It's the most important thing, but not for me. It's different. Honor your husband, even though I'm going to go against everything. In that meeting, when she's asked about the war in Iran, and she says, I wish my husband was here to give his opinion. Somebody mentioned about kicking somebody out. Doug, are you here? There's this A-bomb _ Ivan person. I don't know. Maybe check that out. Somebody said something about assigning moderators. I'm learning the things. Okay. I think we're about. I think that Megyn Kelly interview or appearance was just such a perfect example and evidence to the fact that he had no problem being transparent. And he didn't hide the fact that he was upset about the expectations of him. And we've seen the text where he was losing money, that he was upset about that. And there are witnesses coming forward that he did in fact say, I don't know why he would lie about it, $20 million. Oh, I did get flight records and credit card receipts, you know, things like that that verified these people there. Again, they went to every meeting. There wasn't some secret moment. According to Turning Point, you know, it was said to a group on stage that she was to be his successor if anything happened to him. Again, common sense. What if I get taken out? I want the mother of my children to be put in that position, to be vulnerable in that way as well. Oh my God. All right. To be in your 30s and to be, as I've mentioned, well, in her words, she described herself as living a gypsy lifestyle, traveling all over the world, not for charity work, not for her nonprofit as much as it was following a boyfriend, a basketball player boyfriend around. Not JT, the baseball player, but the basketball player, whose name I don't have, but it's an easy find. When she says she goes to China and it's for these organizations, and I don't know, what was it, the Philippines or lots of places, it matches his basketball schedule. I don't know the need. The one thing that she says that is transparent, although she doesn't specifically say why, is when she gives advice, she says, don't treat your boyfriend like he's your fiance. Don't treat your fiance like he's your husband, which I think she's saying don't sleep, you know, don't have a level of emotional commitment, expectation, physical involvement with a boyfriend, and definitely not a husband. I think she's referencing not emotional investment, or you know, you don't necessarily bring home your boyfriend to meet your parents, as she did JT Massey on their first date night. He met her mother and they talked about what a big deal that was on the first date. Like, don't do that if it's just your boyfriend. If it's your fiance or if you're close to that, and then don't sleep with your fiance. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. She has moments where, you know, she's speaking from experience, but she doesn't quite go there. And people who have that life experience, there's so much you can learn from them if they're willing to share what they've learned. Yes, those are my notes, and I know I'm going to step off here, and there's so many details. There are so many things that would seem obscure, but are significant, and I know they'll come to me after the fact. I think I noted a couple of the text messages. There were phone calls. But there was also text exchange. And let me see if this comes up. Doug, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm clicking on it. I'm clicking on it like I'm supposed to. And it's not. Okay. So when I said, because this person said that she was definitely like a stay-at-home mom, I said, well, there are people that will push back on that because of her speaking engagements and things like that. And they were strongly disagreed. And it's more than clear that Charlie wanted her home. That was the expectation. There was another message. And I know there's no date, no timestamp. There's no, you don't even know that was to me. Doug could have texted that to me for all you know. I get it. I get it. Sorry, you guys. Hopefully you're enjoying the chat with each other during these downtimes. I already shared my messages. There was another text message that I wanted to share. And I'm scrolling down like Doug showed me to do, but it's not popping up. And that's okay. Wonder if the Megyn Kelly video is on here now. What's this video? This will come up.
Voices were raised. He wanted to know why he's not, why you can't criticize Bibi Netanyahu and not be called anti-Semitic.
The way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megyn, calling me an anti-Semite. I am learning biblical Hebrew and writing a book on the Shabbat. I honor the Shabbat, literally the Jewish Sabbath. I was just reading before I got on. Charlie, what are you doing? Like, why are you, what am I doing? I'm sorry. Like, let's just take a step back here. Like, I'm an American citizen.
Coming after you after Turning Point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
Though. No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the 5th time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megyn. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this.
There was a smaller dinner that took place, and Bill Ackman, Erica was present. Bibi Netanyahu called. Now, what I was told directly from Andrew Colbert, which Erica didn't know that my source was Andrew Colbert on this, she was surprised in person when I told her this, was that Bibi offered to take Turning Point USA to the next level. And Charlie said no. Also, how does an organization that's pulling in $150 million a year, what is the next level? So at the moment that you refuse an offer from a man that deranged, that psychopathic, that bloodthirsty, I'll take your company to the next level. Cool. What in exchange for what? I think it's a $1 trillion question.
Oh, okay. Where did I go? Am I still on here? Doug? What do I do? Click back on me? I'm still here. I am still here. Doug is not. And I don't know where I went. Doug! Sorry, you guys. Where did... I don't want my display name. I want me... There I am. Oh, look. Son. Not a vampire. Not a vampire. All right, hold that thought. I'm going to close the shade. I'll be right back. So you caught it, right? You caught how it's August 6th. He's on that podcast on August 6th. And what did he say he was doing, my friends? He said he was writing a book. He was writing a book. The book wasn't finished. It wasn't finished. He was writing the book. In the Megyn Kelly interview and other interviews, at least twice on camera, Erica said the book was finished in June or July. She never said August. Megyn Kelly, oh my God. Bear in mind, Megyn Kelly heard Charlie say the book, that he was still working on the book, that he was working on a book. If you watch segment, the November interview on the stage where Erica's wearing that black see-through lace up to her arse, she has the discernment of I don't even know what. It's a category in and of itself. But she was so connected to Charlie. She was his vault. Yet she didn't know he was still working on a book, or wasn't aware that he said that he was still working on the book. Why would she think that there was nobody out there who knew the book wasn't finished when she said it was finished? Charlie knew. Watch that segment in that interview, because you can tell in retrospect, Megan was ready to ask this question. Because kind of like an outside the box question. Was it finished? Was the book finished? Because what are you asking there? Did somebody else help write it? It's a complicated question. The question itself has some accusation in it, some implication to it. Was the book finished? A telltale sign of Erica lying. That. A little nod. Did it to Jesse Waters when she was saying that Charlie was killed instantly. Because there are conflicting reports about that. Her little nod, usually combined with eyes. Nodding, it's just universal, that in body language interpretation, that a nod, like, yes, think about it yourself. If you're like, what do you want for dinner? Pasta. Are you sure? Yes. It's thrown in there inadvertently too, like, I'm convincing you of something, like yes. So when she puts a more emphasis on it, she's trying to convince somebody of something. But Megyn Kelly asked the question, was the book finished? Knowing darn well what Charlie had told her. And then she asked her 2 different ways soon thereafter. So you read it. So you read it before he died. You read it. When did you read it? Erica thinks she's being asked a logistics question. She says, in the car, like on the way to the office, and she said, no, like, when, I think she said, thought she was being asked, where did you read it? When did you read it? Before Charlie was finished. There are 3 different ways that Megyn Kelly gets Erica to admit on camera, to basically lie on camera. It's exasperating to me. Not exasperating. I see Megyn Kelly kind of play this manipulative role. So maybe she thought that just getting it out there, that other people would spotlight it, because she didn't call it out. She sure as heck didn't say, well, Charlie told me he was still working on it. I shared that clip on X, and somebody accused me of taking it out of context. She's sharing a clip that's out of context. What's the context? It's Charlie Kirk saying he was still working on the book in August. August 6th. It's Charlie Kirk saying he's working on the book. What's the freaking context that you can take that out of? The same when he said it's worth it for there to be some gun deaths to protect the Second Amendment. We are gun owners. We have more than one gun here. I understand the value of the Second Amendment, but that summarizes what he was saying. That's not taken out of context. The other things just support what he was saying. I know there's pushback sometimes about whether he ever said anything racist. When he said it, I'm not going to get the exact quote. I'm not going to get it exactly right. But when he said something like, if I see a black pilot, he questions not their skill set, but if affirmative action was at play, or it raises questions. Okay. The fact that the same thought doesn't come up when he looks at a white pilot. Need a bit of racism there. We all have it. To some degree, we all have it. Okay. I'm looking at the comments now. Please check Andrew Smith interview. I will, because I don't know who that is. I'll make a note right now. I will say that the people that I connected with, 2 CEOs, 1 CEO, had nothing to gain. They're just sad. They weren't being pissy. They were sad. They loved Charlie. They loved his TPUSA. I have nothing to gain, except some trolls. I'm sorry Doug didn't catch that person sooner. Yeah, Tucker and Charlie were close. Charlie never told anybody that. There's nobody outside. Megyn Kelly never said it. She's never defended Erica, her taking that role. I don't think Jesse Waters has. I don't believe. I can't. If I'm wrong, but I don't think I've heard. I've heard people defend her in terms of picking on a widow, which is the most ridiculous. One episode of Law and Order where the husband's been killed. They talk to the wife and they look to see if she inherited money. I'm not saying she did it. I'm not saying she did anything. But you're allowed to question the widow. Erica Twerk, you guys. She is a military asset. Yeah, there's a big difference between being an agent and being an asset. For lack of a better example, agent would orchestrate everything. An asset, give information, stand aside. Knowing how much pain he was in regarding losing donors, what he exhibited at the Megyn Kelly interview, talking about donors and money that they were losing. The fact that she didn't go to the kickoff event is telling. The fact he took off his wedding ring the night before and the necklace. Andrew said in one podcast of theirs that he never took off that necklace. I am 99% sure, 99.9% sure I heard him say that. It's also hysterical. In the Jesse Waters interview, she's holding the necklace that she should not have, that should be in evidence, that she should not have. It's very suspect that Frank Turek decided she should have it and get that piece out of there. Of course, if there's suspicion about the t-shirt needing to be rolled up and disappeared because of fragments or whatever, the necklace would need to be cleaned up. But that he was out of town, out of the country. I can even buy that he was up in the middle of the night to get a snack. I can buy that. He was probably jet lagged. I can buy that. I can buy that. Apparently they're in a condo. I want to know why they were in a condo and why they had not too long ago sold a house for $5 million. Why they sold that house and why were they in a condo? There's a poster video that somebody posted of her in what seemed to be their condo, and there's crayon and drawing on the walls behind it. They were picking at her for housekeeping issues. I thought, why not? Let your kid draw on the walls. You can always paint over it. But so I can buy he was up in the middle of the night. I can also believe he was stressed if he sent out the message that they are going to kill me. I think it's curious that she didn't know. Why wouldn't he tell her that if she was his vault? Because I believe her. I believe that she was telling the truth. During the Glenn Beck interview in December, when she says through a strong filter, you ever notice how sometimes her cheekbones look, her jawline looks really defined and other times like really, really super round? Now I need to be careful because when I film shorter videos, there's a filter I use on TikTok. But whoa, different, just totally different. But she said, I have to do the body because she's kind of like this. He didn't say that. And he wasn't tweeting people, they're going to kill me. He didn't say that. And I have his phone. I believe her. I believe that she meant that she didn't know, which means it's kind of a lose situation because she either says, yeah, I knew about it, but withhold that information. Didn't say anything when Candace brought it up. Or the flip side, which I believe is that he didn't tell her, which is suspect AF, which is suspect. He was afraid for his life and didn't tell her. So all the angst, everything going on, and she stayed home because home needs her. Okay. Think how much, what she would have been gone, not even 24 hours, a few hours. The private jet would be waiting. Home needs her. Think about how I wish, like, at some point, go through a calendar and cross out all the dates that she hasn't been at home because her mom is dying. In the Barry Weiss interview, Barry asks her, do you practice the Sabbath? Which came off like an impromptu question. Do you honor the Sabbath? And she goes, I try to. See, I don't even have to pull up the clips. I try to. What'd she say next? But my mom is, something to the effect is, but my mom, she said, but I spread it out because my mom is sick. And okay, the Sabbath is a 24-hour period. Nowhere in the definition of a Sabbath is it an hour here and there. And you can see Glenn Beck just become so disappointed because he's so enthusiastic. He's so excited. Charlie had wrote book on the Sabbath, and that they're talking about the Sabbath because he says the Sabbath not only changed his life, he said it saved his life. And as emotionally over the top Glenn Beck can be, it seemed really authentic in that moment. The Sabbath changed my life. And then he asks her about their practice of it, her practice of it. And she says, well, that's the thing. Charlie wasn't legalistic about it. You could make it your own. There's videos of Charlie talking about the Sabbath. He might say that the one I remember was like that usually it's a Sunday, I believe. Forgive me, I don't remember exactly. But he said usually it's one day, a specific day, but because they were at this one event, it's where she's wearing the dress that looks like your grandmother's couch, you know, with all the pink stuff. Like so bad. I mean, women can wear what they want, but it's so bad. But he said, usually we do it on this specific day, but obviously it'll be a different day this time because we're here. And it was on the day, whatever, that they usually do it. I think he said Sunday. I had a video montage, and I don't think I ever finished it, of all the different days that she had said was their Sabbath. And then she'd say things like, when he honored the Sabbath, he was a great husband. And then in Megyn Kelly's thing, I think she said he mastered it. Just all this contradicting stuff. I hadn't heard the phrase before, the saying before about if you're going to lie, you need to have an excellent memory. I know it's a common saying, but very true. I think I heard Candace say it. Very, very true. And I don't know if this is officially like a pride before the fall situation. Arrogance. It's definitely arrogant to think that they could go out there, Turning Point, and present this entire narrative, all of it, whatever aspect you're thinking of, that too, just every aspect of it. And people wouldn't have questions, or that people that didn't even necessarily like Charlie Kirk would genuinely care. Very early on, I thought, why do I care more? Why do I care more about the truth about who killed Charlie Kirk than his own wife, than his own widow? Why do I care more? I think the combination of the gaslighting for so long, the way that it was being politicized out of the gate, and then all my history. I was so invested. So invested. And contrary to appearances at times, it's not about making fun of a widow. I didn't wake up one day and think I want to go after a widow. It's calling out the absurdity of it. Because it's absurd. The whole thing is just absurd. And in that sense, comical. And very public. They brought it to the public. You can't play the widow card when you go out at AmFest and announce to the world that you're endorsing J.D. Vance to be the next president. Okay, now it's political, and it's on. I felt it was game on, to use her phrase, game on after the memorial. I thought, okay, it's fair game. It's political. This is a campaign strategy. Right away, I was like, they want her to be vice president on the ticket. I think she's blown it. Did Victor Marx win the primary? If he did, I mean, the whole thing is just fixed. That's just absurd. People say that she said she was pregnant. And I think that there was a misunderstanding that came out of the Megyn Kelly interview, because I never heard her say she was pregnant. what I heard her say to Megyn Kelly is that she hoped she was. I also thought, what would she do then? Would she be CEO if she was pregnant? Are any of you guys watching fireworks? We're on the West Coast here, so it's still sunlight. Anybody watching fireworks? Hi, Ottawa. Oh, somebody just said, as a widow, they were on her from the start. Widows were. Widows were. God, and the FBI. God, they think we're so stupid. Aren't you tired of just being treated like you're stupid? It's just so patronizing. Somebody will walk outside. I wish you could post pictures. Honeybee said the fireworks are so loud. Coming from such a conservative mindset financially, just on a personal level, every time I see a firework, I'm like, well, there's $300. Well, there's $500. Or the city could have housed some homeless people. When I see gratuitous things like that, I have the most vivid memory right now of being on the banks of some river with my parents, watching fireworks, and the only ones I liked were the ones that were lower, that I guess appeared to be on the ground somewhere, that were like spinny ones. I mean, they were large, they were at a distance, but the loud ones, I remember being horrified. I was under 6 years old, because this was in the Columbia, Maryland area. Oh, under the blanket. I can remember the feel of the wool blanket. That's how poignant that memory is to me. Yeah, Erica doesn't seem to have a heart, so how could we know her? Honestly, she doesn't seem to know herself. Have I heard of General Paul? He's on the disciple of... Okay, no, but I'm going to make a note. Paul. Got it. Somebody else was you were counting them by cost. The willow tree kind, yeah. I like the ones that go poof. I feel for the dogs and the vets. Oh my God. We lived in an area called West Hills for a while. And from our balcony, you could see, like, you couldn't see the coastline. Like, you couldn't see the ocean or anything, but the direction was of the coast. And you could see about 7 points of like where major fireworks shows were, from like Long Beach to I don't know where. And it, not super close up, but that was pretty cool. Okay. You're in California. They only do drone shows in your city. Worried about the vineyards. The drone shows are a great idea. They really are. What city is that? Could you tell me what city that is? Oh, by the way, thank you guys for your support through our gift company, Think Happy Stuff. Doug has the website going across the bottom there, thinkhappystuff.com. That is our little gift company that we started in 2006. And there were breaks from it, not because I was staying at home with the kids, not because it was up to a point where I could just delegate it to others, but just because of life circumstances, and life happens. And so when I hear Erica talk about her business, I was a business owner. I was an entrepreneur. And build your business. So she's t-shirts. and sweatshirts and sweatpants. And it wasn't even functioning until after she was with Charlie. She's a fraud, a fake, phony fraud. There is nothing authentic about her. Charlie must have been waking up, don't you think? Don't you think he was catching on to something? He wanted to do that audit. He put that letter out. This chair is so comfortable. He refused $120 million. He wanted to audit his own company, which they called off immediately. That was in writing. That was in writing. Her being CEO, not in writing. Wanting the audit, in writing. They don't do the audit. My God. My base. I wasn't monetized or anything. I was processing. I am now. I work my freaking ass off. With this so hard. If you care about facts, researching, it can take me 10 hours to make a 3-minute video. Because I research things. I was researching something about the nuclear claims about nuclear weapons in Iran. I learned all about aspects of nuclear weapons, uranium. I spent 2 hours just learning that. It didn't even apply to the video, but I wanted to know what I was talking about. You know the people that have integrity on here and that are real. You know them. I stay away from the ragers. I've had my moments. When she came out with the now I'm the sole provider. That was one of her, that one of two personalities we see. Now I have to be the sole provider of my children, for my children. That's one video. I think I have it pinned on Instagram where it's like, what the fuck? And I think it's the first one that CANDACE commented on. She said every word of this. Wow. Can you name any Erica supporters? I don't know really what to refer them to, who have platforms, who you believe are authentic. It would be easy to name ones that aren't, that I believe aren't. But can you I'd be really interested in following some that are, who genuinely believe. So please share if you know. This has been so mellow, just hanging with you guys. They own properties. And again, they sold the house in that poshy neighborhood. I don't know why they sold it. I want to know why. Over $5 million, I believe. You can see pictures of it online. I had Doug throw off the Only Erica fan, but it wasn't productive. Like, from what I saw, how I saw people react, I just don't want it to distract from the people that are sincere. If it's distracting and it keeps people from being present, then I don't mind somebody expressing a contrary viewpoint. Boy, when you research, you have to look at the source, next level. It might be a publication that we would consider valid, but then now we have to think about who owns it, who funds it, what network, who owns it, who funds it. God, there are things going on in this war I would encourage you to plug into international news organizations. We're not seeing it. Our media is so, you know this, I'm stating the obvious, so controlled. So controlled. Always look who funds it. Yeah, you considered Turning Point a youth movement. As a boomer, you weren't interested. I was aware of CANDACE, but I didn't like her. I do now. I'm 57 and still with a lot of life experience, and still filter at times how candid to be about my opinion. She doesn't do that. And I have a level of respect about that. I still get hesitant, like not hesitant. I will say Bibi Netanyahu. I will say Israel. 6 months ago, 9 months ago, hear my dogs? I was not comfortable saying so. People didn't say so. Like, didn't say that openly. Hey, shh. No, hush, no. Come here. The little one barks first, and hush, Bubby. The little dog that we got first. Come here. We were big dog people because we lived in Tennessee and had space. And then I moved to LA, and I thought, the dogs are going to be inside more, and I don't want big poops in my apartment. So we got this little dog, and for the longest time, we just called her Puppy. And then I thought, okay, we need to name her something that sounds like puppy. So we named her Bubby, which I now know is a Jewish word for grandmother. But she's a sweetheart, but she's the one that always kind of barks first and gets the other ones going. The two younger ones that are also Pomeranians will run to the door, which isn't a far run, but when they hear the Amazon guy, she'll often like kind of be sleeping under the couch, and she will just keep aggressively barking from under the couch. She also didn't have, she's 13 now, and this white on her face she didn't have. Do you want to say hi? Okay, go do your thing. This has been a nice 4th of July with you guys. Have you seen the pictures from the bicentennial celebration in Washington, D.C.? The place was packed. And you didn't see the white supremacists marching, who feel so enabled to do so. When people talk about the spiritual, Holy Spirit-filled event, in their opinion, that was the Charlie Kirk Memorial, I saw maybe 3 people of color. Maybe. And you didn't miss them because they got lots of camera time. Lots of camera time. Heaven, as we know, will have every tribe, tongue, and nation. A lot of people are going to be really surprised who they see on the other side. Very surprised. Okay. We are going to wrap this up. You guys have been amazing. I think it's been our largest gathering to date. It didn't feel like a red lipstick kind of thing. We have a few left. because I get asked about that a lot. You probably heard me say that the red lipstick that I will often wear is a discontinued brand. I found a few and they are available on the website. And somebody just bought several mugs. Thank you for that. It is our gift company. So the profit comes to us and helps us keep doing this. So your support is very much appreciated. And there are still a few items left that are half off. We've never done a half off sale before, but we did that. So any last minute thoughts, you guys? Does it smear the lipstick? No, no. As a matter of fact, it's dry. It's matte. It's a matte finish. So if you've seen it glossy, I've added something to it, but it's the kind that goes on and is there. As a matter of fact, it's a challenge to take off. I use like coconut oil. There's an eye makeup remover, like just a Neutrogena generic, kind of eye makeup remover I'll use on it. It really sticks. If I put a lipstick on it, it will come off on I'm sorry, if I put a gloss on it, it will transfer to a cup a little while. Otherwise it doesn't. It's really incredible, but it is drier. This was a fun hang, you guys. 885 likes. Is that good? No smear. It doesn't run. It doesn't like seriously. If you're not happy with it, I'll refund you. Integrity matters. So I don't have a problem with that. Love my nail color. It's what is it? Let me see. Sorry, bring back. I do my own nails. I can't rationalize spending money on that. No condemnation if you do. It's the money, but it's also the time. It's a great bonding thing, like to do with a girlfriend. But the last girlfriend I attempted to do that with a couple years ago wanted like all organic, which there are places. I'm in LA. Okay, now, Doug, can you hear me? Somewhere out there is I think it's out there, a nail polish. Because I grabbed this one that's SC. Yes, would you please bring that here? I can't hear him in here. I think it's an OP. 900 likes. Honeybee, you're awesome. Okay. Thank you, sweetie. Okay. What? Why are you looking at me? What you looking at? Okay. OPI. I don't know what you call it. OPI. Nail liqueur. Shoot, where's it say the color? Oh. This is one of those things where I have to, even with glasses, like I would have to take a picture of it. It looks like, I wouldn't know how to pronounce this. NAGELLACK. Thank you, Elizabeth. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Oh, you pronounce each letter OPI? Oh, we kept you company while you door dashed. I love that. Very small on the bottom. You would think so. There's nothing there. It's very, very neutral. Somebody once said, well, you can afford to get your nails done. And I'm like, I do it myself. I cut my own hair. And obviously I don't color it. I cut my own hair. Again, I just like 2 hours in a salon or whatever is, by the time you drive there. That's the only thing that I see that could be a name to the color. Okay. My eyes are like the allergy stuff. This was great. I am a fan. Does she do a live at a regular time? I don't. I want to. Now, I haven't. When does Candace go live? When does Baron go live? When does Lionel go live? That's what I need to look into. And I know it's, different people. I'd love to know what time's best for you, but I know it's different for everybody. Scotland people, do you know, I have a huge base in Australia. I don't know how that works, but I love it. And I love knowing that I could run away to a different country. There is a benefit to all things organic, including nail polish. When we put stuff on, it absorbs into our body. Nicole, you cut your own hair too. I wish you guys could share pictures. Please do more lives. Yes, it is. We're going to do that. Lionel, no, Coach Colin was the first one to give me a shout out. I didn't know who he was. Like I said, new to this, and I'm not like a conservative. So people, I think those labels are kind of blurring these days. What am I pointing at? Why am I doing this? I'm not even pointing at anything. I'm doing this. Doesn't Barron make fun of like liberal women who do that? I don't know what his reference is to, but when he said something about when he made fun of liberal women, I went, oh yeah. Before this, we weren't on the same side of things. I'm hoping these bridges will stay built. Okay, Candace, Monday. I thought, Saturday is a great time to do things because I don't think anybody does them. But Sunday, Monday, nighttime live is chill. I love nighttime. My body is really like I'm like I said, 57. I'm almost 58. I'm always a year behind. In August, I'll be 58. And I started going to like some yoga classes, and I'm feeling it. And but I know 70-year-olds. I know of 70-year-olds who are in phenomenal shape. So I'm not giving up on my body and my aches and my pains. Okay, Baron is around. Whatever. Oh yeah. So Coach Colin gave me a shout out, and then Lionel did. And Lionel in all his animation was just joyous. And then I know some of you guys saw this, but Baron was talking about Victor Marx's daughter, who had told me she would interview with me. And then she ghosted me. And so I sent him a super chat because I don't have his number or anything. And to share that information with him, it took me 2 times. I didn't realize you needed to text the message before you purchased it. And sometimes he'll answer a question and he'll just be kind of like, I don't know. And then like the person sent them, gifted him $50 or something. And he's like, I don't know. And so I had no expectation that I would get even an encouraging response, but I was sharing information. And when he saw my message, he goes, "Is that you? Is that you?" And then he's like, "We have a celebrity." And I'm not kidding. I sat there for 3 minutes. Like, and Doug came in. I'm like, Doug, what the, like, he knows like who I am. Like, that's how when people get excited that I message them back or reply, I'm like, really? Really? But, and I wish I could reply to everybody. I miss messages all the time. And it's never intentional at all. Lifting weights is good. Yeah. I look great. Thank you. No filter here. Good lighting though. You're 56, Trisha. I'm glad you're here. Charlie always wanted people to unite, which is, he wanted conversation when, God, in that Barry Weiss town hall, I wish I could pull up the clip. Erica goes on this tirade of, people screamed at him. He didn't raise his voice. They basically like that he was perfect. And I, as a result of that, created a montage of him like losing it, going at people, where he wasn't inviting conversations, where he called him stupid, where he made fun of him. I mean, he was freaking human. And I know that in death, people get glorified, but perspective. And I wasn't just trying to tear him down. I wasn't going to let her play up this messianic aspect. My name is mentioned in Barron's chats all the time. You guys, he said he wanted to connect. Please tell him. I'm not too prideful to say, reach out to Christine. We all get in our grooves with life, and it's hard to follow up with people, but I'm not liberal or Republican. I am an American. God bless America. People threw eggs at him. He laughed. My God, that was horrific. There are some of these people. I'm like, don't call yourself a liberal. Don't call yourself anything other than unhinged. To lose it like that is just whatever. I've had death threats. I've had whatever. My skin is amazing. Thank you. I do have great skin. And my parents gave it to me. But also I found this product and they don't pay me. Shoot. Is it in my store? We'll put it in the comments. Doug, can you do that? You might have to pull it from Instagram. If it's still there. I may have bumped it for something. I will put a link, and I want you to use my link because they do give me some credit for it. But yeah, it's good. It's very rich. I have very dry skin, but what you use is very important. Fekete means black in Hungarian. Yes, dark and black. I never glorified him. I disagreed with him plenty. Loco jazz hands. One time I did a video. Oh my God. My memorial videos, they're good. They are really, really good. If you go back, you will have to go way back and you'll have to go on Instagram. Actually, I compiled some and I put them in YouTube, which shouldn't be hard to find because I haven't been active on here. But I did a compilation. It would be under the video section because they're more than 3 minutes. But they're freaking good. And at some point I said something about Jesus coming back and that I'd like to think of him coming back with jazz hands. And I don't know why I said that. What product? I don't want to say because, okay, I will tell you, but will you wait until it goes up in the comments, please? Because I don't get big sponsorship deals because of what I talk about. You would not believe how many dozens of inquiries I get a week. But then I'm like, really? have you seen my comment? Have you seen my content? And then they don't so much. Do you see the
It's too big to put in the chat.
It's too big to put in the chat. You know what? There's a store front. We put it in the chat before.
We did.
No? Okay.
Just tell them go to your Instagram and go to the.
Is it in the Instagram?
Yes.
Okay. Can you go to my Instagram? Would you do that? It's a product called Froya, Froya, organic stuff. It's, I don't want to say it's heavier. It's not like a light, water-based cream that super absorbs. I have worn it like under makeup, but it does make it a little glossier. And at night, I put a lot on, but it's heavier, not like a Vaseline texture, but I guess, yeah, that kind of texture, but not that kind of quality. But it's just super moisturizing. They have stuff for dark spots. They have a muscle balm, but I go through that pretty quickly and it's a little pricey, so I don't invest in that. They set it up to where you get 30% off if you subscribe. So it's hard to pass that up, but take note that you have to subscribe for at least 2 cycles, but it can be like 10 weeks apart or something. That being said, the first time I signed up, I didn't realize you had to do 2 months, and they didn't hold me to it. But then I ran out and I thought, okay, I really like this stuff, and I ordered again. Okay. Since COVID-19, you wear zero makeup. I almost I started getting eye infection stuff, and it's been torturous. And even right now it hurts a little bit. And I believe I've narrowed it down to this loose powder that I have had for maybe 3 years because I don't wear makeup a lot. So I hope that's going to take care of it. Yeah, it would be interesting to read the original transcript of Charlie's book. We never will. Or a bra. Okay, I'll tell you this. I'm going to say the word. I don't know if I can say this word. Can I say the NIPPLE word? I have not had any implants, but there is a procedure called a NIPPLE lift. Best freaking thing ever. Look into it. That's all I'm going to say about that. If you watch, I don't know if it's called Fox and Friends. It's the Shabbat Shalom Daddy's Home one. The blue blazer looking thing with the gold buttons that she's worn for quite some time. Again, she doesn't spend a lot of money on clothes, which I think is kind of cool. Being complicit in her husband's, assassination, a kind of, bigger issue than what she wears. But in that, one of the hosts, who is also part of the Five, kind of dark curly hair guy, I don't know. He calls it her book. He slips and says something about your book and then corrects himself. She doesn't react to it. The black guy says, you write, you're a writer. You've had thoughts of your own. We've known you. We know you've had your own opinions. It's really interesting banter. Really interesting banter. But it's mentioned that she writes and that she wrote the foreword. And I thought, you really want to go on about what the writer she is, which is absurd. The woman can hardly finish a sentence. And when she does, her sentence structure is absurd. The nips will rise. is pretty. I love it. Okay. You don't know any Erica supporters in real life? I don't know. Thank you for always making me laugh. You know what? The best compliment ever in these times. That means everything. I need your lipstick and face cream. The lipstick is on the website, and we have a few left, but then I won't have any more. Diane, you're late, but I'm glad you're here. Yeah, she was suppressing herself. She has suppressed herself. She has not been her authentic self for a long time. And you can see that when you see the old videos. She made a lesbian joke at I've shared clips of it. I've shared it. It wasn't like a blatant lesbian joke, but she said, oh, it's something about getting married, and it was open-ended of whether it was to a man or a woman. In the context, it makes sense. And she says to a man, and then she kind of goes, and people laughed. And I thought that she just made a lesbian joke, and it was funny. There was some part in the Megyn Kelly interview that I shared a clip, and I go, that person is likable. That person is likable. Okay, I'm a hoot. All the way from Australia. There was a Sydney sweatshirt that I saw on eBay that I might go back and get just in honor of my Australian people. But is that like, if I'm wearing a Sydney like sweatshirt, is everybody in Australia like yay, or are some people like Sydney sucks, you know? And now it's 5,000 a person to attend with Erica Franzwey. She's a lesbian. I definitely, like, she has a quality, no doubt. Her girlfriend's name was Sid. Erica had a girlfriend named Sid. The dynamic with Tracy Martin is weird. Apart from the narcissist empath dynamic and the fact that they want things from each other. When they met, I heard Tracy tell the story, Erica wanted a contact from her. 1,000? Are you serious? 1,000 likes? Is that like, you know, I know Candace probably gets like 50,000, but that's a first for sure. Sydney here, 1 p.m. Sunday. What day is it here? We're Saturday. Ooh, it's starting to get dark, and I do think we're going to go see some fireworks. We haven't done that in forever. And this time I won't hide under a wool blanket. A lot of men prefer not to get married, even if they knock up the gal. A lot of gals who get knocked up don't want to get married. Then if they decide to leave, obtaining child support is a nightmare. I so hate that for people. My husband took his ring off every night. That's right. Charlie's was not a regular wedding band. That's interesting. Hungarian, Fekete is a Hungarian name. My husband's family, Doug's family, is Hungarian. Thank you. That is a good point. Charlie's wedding ring was not a standard. It wasn't a band. God, her rings are so gaudy. But the whole look is really gaudy. The Republican Party does have a lot of closeted people, like disproportionately. It does. The thing about the Grindr numbers escalating during certain conventions is, and to me, it's sad, you know, to each their own. A fun fireworks date night. I always hate saying bye to you guys. You're like a full hour behind. You're in New York. Start spreading the news, baby. I have a daughter that's probably going to move there. You've always taken off your rings at night. You know, I just, in my mind, just because of my parents and our wedding rings are just, actually, I don't have one on right now. Why did I take it off? Oh, because I had an MRI recently for a shoulder thing. Sending love and light to my fellow truth seekers. Love watching you put my glasses on. My glasses right now? Why? Do I do something weird? Do you know Donald Trump like needs reading glasses, but won't, and we've seen pictures of him in the Beast, you know, in his car wearing them, but he does the super huge Sharpie because he needs reading glasses, but because of his vanity, he won't wear them in public. So with my notes, they're actually printed bold, large lettering. I hate when lives end. That's so funny because it reads like lives, like people's lives end. Hang up. I know. No, you hang up. You've left twice and come back. Happy 4th from Western Canada. You know, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I've seen her try to hug on Charlie Kirk and he looks uncomfortable. I tell you, if you look at the first podcast that they do together, and apparently there's a TPUSA edited version, and then there's the uncut version. He is frustrated with her. He is because she acts all like, oh, this is mortifying. Talking on she's been in a bikini in front of thousands of people on a pageant stage. If you watch any other, you know, her JT Massey, Amazing Race, the woman is not camera shy. She did broadcasting stuff. It's mortifying because Charlie's so handsome. I can't stop looking at you because he's so handsome. So she kept, what it was a power move. She kept sabotaging the podcast and getting it going. And he gets frustrated. You can see it. I wonder if he finally like Googled her ass, looked at her LinkedIn, found out, I think she's older. I think she is significantly older than what she claims to be. Okay. She is a Tammy Faye Baker. TPUSA does give Scientology vibes. I think the discouraging people from going to college and coming to work for them when they're 18 years old and their brains are still forming, considering the level of inundation of information, the same information, I think that's cultish. Okay, you guys. Are you still able to chat with each other when I say goodbye? Again, please visit thinkhappystuff.com. Check out the half-off stuff. The lipstick is there. I will, please go to my Instagram. It's also What the Feckety. And there's a link there to the face cream stuff. They should endorse me, but they won't because of me talking about they don't like the political stuff. Generally speaking, there are a few, obviously. If I leave it open, you can chat until you end it. I can't leave it open though. Makes me feel vulnerable. We were so rushed getting on here. My hair was still wet. My makeup stuff is at this little desk where Doug puts the computer. So I was like reaching over him to get stuff, but okay. Yeah, I barely knew who Charlie or Candace were either. This was a fun. fun time. I stopped texting my trans furry lover to watch this live stream. I was trying to explain some of this to my mom, and I brought up the accusation that he had this trans furry lover. And I was like, furry, do you know like what that is? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, part of me was like, what? You know what that is? I think that guy was a plant. I think that guy, like probably sought him out. I don't believe they were lovers. I don't believe he's trans or a furry. I think that was just to incite the right, and that he set Tyler up somehow. That's just a theory. Okay, Lance Twiggs, thank you. Yes, undoubtedly an asset, without question, without a question. I am still surprised that this subject that Erica Kirk isn't like on the forefront of everybody's mind. Like Doug and I were watching Sean Ryan, and he asked, Candace brought up Frank Turek. What? And Candace brought up, no, Sean, yeah, Candace brought up Frank Turek, and Sean goes, who's Frank Turek? And Doug was like, oh my God. Doug did that. Doug, who never even really watched podcasts before. So I love that. Okay, you guys, enjoy your night. Enjoy your night. I am tired and my eyes hurt, but I still want to see what you're talking about. I have to come up with a sign off. Does Candace have a sign off? Does Baron? Does Lionel? Hello, my people. That's my opener. That's just how I talk to people. Okay. I'll check the comments later. Thank you guys. I hope you got something out of this. Not groundbreaking news, just more to substantiate the fact that Candace is not lying. Top donors have left, and we're talking big money. Big money. They're done and they're angry. They are tired of Andrew and others just saying that everybody's lying when they know for a fact what the truth is. Charlie didn't tell just one person that he was offered $120 million. Charlie was transparent. He wasn't trying to hide anything. And Mikey McCoy knows this. And these people, these donors are this close to getting on camera themselves. This close. It's a next level nightmare for them for many ways. But when Candace listed the bloodthirsty characteristics of Netanyahu, I was like, I love my life. You guys would go a little Candace, right? If something happened to me, you'd go a little Candace. I hope. Maybe Candace would go a little Candace. Happy thoughts. All right. I'm huge in Canada. I love Canada. I've never been to Canada. I was supposed to do a comedy tour in Canada. And then the guy ended up, the organizer that ended up being a snake. And thank God I caught on to that beforehand. I want to go to the place that has like the garden. Like there's some huge garden. Just like, I love gardens. Okay. Montreal. You guys are awesome. Ride or die back at you. Okay. Love you. I appreciate you. And wow, over 3 hours. And we're still in this moment, I think, the highest lives that we've had. So if you're new here, thank you for being here. And again, I'm just sharing information, not trying to convince you of anything, but The lying. The lying is just gross. I meant to share. There was a text. God, let me find this. Let me find this. Doug, I don't know if you put it up there. The one. Did I already share this? Where Andrew says liars need to come out and confess their. Did I not get the? Did I already share this? Okay. It's critical that liars admit they lied. There can be no restoration without that. If they're going to save this organization, which not quite to the point of no return, but so close. Erica needs to resign, and people like Andrew and Blake need to recant. I see the potential in Andrew. I don't see it in Blake. Dark soul, dark entities attached. For some reason, Andrew comes across as somebody who's caught up in something. But he has not honored his wife in any way. God, your husband lying for another woman? Really? Your husband lying for another woman? Gotta be better. Gotta be better. All right. I hope you can still hear me when I talk low like this. Rumor has it that I have a glass eye. Me? Really? Is there a rumor that I have a glass eye? No, but I do have one eye that is very squinty. If you look at yourself in pictures, people tend to have a sexy eye and a cute eye. And the sexy eye tends to be a little more narrow. And then the cute eye is a little brighter. Like if you put a hand over half and the other. Me? Were people saying that I had a glass eye? Like, really? No rumor? There's no rumor? Okay. I don't have a glass eye. I would tell you if I did. I probably would have told you by now. Okay. I mean, I told you about the nibble lift. All right, you guys, on that note, I'm going to hit end the live stream. So I don't think that the chat will continue. I hope you guys are in touch outside of this. This is where Doug is like, are you going to end it? Yes, I'm going to end it because I want to go see fireworks. All right. I appreciate you guys. Bye.